Hi, in this video clip, I'm going to go through your research methods assessment rubric for each of these items and how are you going to score for full marks if possible. Now, the first is about your title and abstract. Please remember that for your research title, you will need to include at least three specifications. So you can include when, what, where, who, how into your title. Just choose three out of these five specifications. Then for the abstract, you will need to include background, issues of your research, objective, method, and result of your research in one small paragraph. And remember that this is one paragraph, so you don't have to write very long paragraph. Just make sure that you include one or two sentences regarding your background, issue, objective of your research, method that you are using, for example, PSPP, one-way ANOVA, and the result, its summary result, a summarized result. Next is your research problem statements and your research objective. Under the research problem statement, you have to relate back to your introduction section. And for your research objective, you will have to relate back to your research problem, which is 2A here. So both of these has to be related to each other. Then for the third item, research question and research hypothesis or sub-objective. Again, I would like to remind all of you that if you are doing questionnaire, you will not have any sub-objective, you will have hypothesis. So for 3A, item 3A research question is each student, you should have one research question, which is related back to your research problem statement, which is this part. And your research hypothesis, each student one hypothesis, and you have to relate it back to your literature review, which also means that in your literature review, you will have to specify and explain all the variables that you have used in your hypothesis, your dependent variables and your independent variables, where did you get it? And you have to use other references to support your hypothesis in the literature review. Next will be the item 4, literature review. In your literature review, you should relate back to your hypothesis and cite all your references. If you have 10 references, then you should cite all the 10 references as much as possible in your literature review to support your explanation of your dependent and independent variables which you have included in your hypothesis. And in item 5, research design, methods, and organization, under the research methodology, you should include steps for your research, which also includes your literature review. How are you going to carry out literature review? From where you are going to get all these articles? Is it from the library? Is it from the internet resources, from Google Scholar? And then your questionnaire. How are you going to carry out the questionnaire? And the analysis methods. Okay, for this part, research methodology, you don't have to explain in detail, especially for questionnaire, because you have another part on the questionnaire. You have another part on the questionnaire to explain it in detail. So perhaps you want to briefly write it here, and then in another section, you might want to explain it in detail regarding your questionnaire. Okay, an analysis method will include the PSPP and then which method that you are going to use, one-way ANOVA, two-way ANOVA, or t-test, chi-square. And under the 5, okay, under the item 5, you will also need to make assumption, minimum 2 assumptions regarding your research. And also, we will be looking at your research paper organization, which is the format of your paper under this item. The format of your paper, whether you have correctly put everything in a correct structure. And the last will be the result. Okay, the result, item 6 in this page, is the result data analysis. You will need to use correct method to accept or reject your hypothesis and use all the questionnaire questions. And therefore, you have to identify which questionnaire question you have been used, you have been using, or you have used in your data analysis for each of your hypotheses, which questionnaire questions you have used. Let's look at the last page. Item number 7 is regarding your discussion and conclusion, and discussion is a part of your result just now. You'll have to answer all the hypotheses. So result and discussion are actually together. You have to answer all the hypotheses. And number 7B, conclusion, you have to state at least 2 limitation. You have to state minimum 2 limitation and future works based on the limitation. Item number 8 is about your reference and also your citation, and you must use Harvard referencing in your reference list. Make sure that all the references under your reference list have been cited either in the introduction or in your in your literature review. All of them must be cited. If they are not cited anywhere in your write-up, please remove it from your reference list. Okay, and your references should be within 2015 to 2021. You are allowed to have minimum amount of references which is older than 2015, especially for definition, but not all, okay, not all. Most of your references should be within 2015 to 2021. Okay, and that's all for your assessment rubrics, and all the best.